Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. In today's video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to draft a trouser pattern, and this one we're going to use specifically to make pajamas pants. However, if you want to use this to make any other pants, you can definitely use the same pattern, and obviously we can modify it later on to make different styles. Okay, so go ahead and get your pattern paper, your measuring tape, your paper, scissors, and then you want to go ahead and get a pencil, not a marker. I'm only using a marker so you guys can see my lines clearly. Okay, you also want to get yourself a long ruler. I prefer the steel rules, but I don't have any at the moment, so I use my flexible clear ruler. You also want to get your hip curve, which is also flexible and clear as well, and then you also want to get a protractor. Because I don't have a protractor, I'm going to be using my favorite tool in the world, which is the pattern master that I have. To start off, cut out the pattern paper that you need. I love this particular one because it has the dots and crosses that help me to draw straight lines and just guide me. I think it's about an inch within each box or unit, but don't quote me. So go ahead and cut out what you need, and then the easiest way to do this for me that I've found is that I fold this into two, and I'm able to find the center line of my pattern paper when I fold it into two. After finding the center line of my pattern paper and I'm happy with it, I go ahead and fold it again one more time. At this point, this is an overkill because, to be fair, I used to think that would help me find the grain line, but sometimes it does, but not necessarily, because it depends on how your pattern looks like. However, I'm happy with the fact that I have my center line, which is the most important line for me, and it helps me with getting the midpoint of the center line of my pattern. Now that we have the center line in place, you want to go ahead and draw your top line, and at this point I change the orientation of my paper just a little bit so that you guys can see me drawing the top line in there. So go ahead and draw the top line in place, and the top line only has to be about an inch or an inch and a half long. Now after drawing the top line, we're going to go ahead and use some pattern weights to hold the pattern down so that it does not move. It is at this point that we start drafting our pattern. Now what we want to do is where the top line meets the center line of the paper is going to be labeled A. However, now we can't see the center line of paper, but that's the essence of folding it, so it's easy for me to draw the center line. So as you can see, I'm drawing my center line in red marker, and I'm just doing that now. So that is the center line. So again, like I said, the intersection where the center line meets the top line we label as point A, and that's what I've done in the blue marker. And I need you guys to follow the label throughout this video. It's very important and it will help you get it and understand it better. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to draw the pants length or the trouser length, and that is the length for your trouser from the point A to wherever it ends. So I've marked mine, and wherever it ends, you're going to go ahead and mark that point as point B. It's very important. So A to B is your trouser length, and that is measured vertically. So I draw a small line so you guys can see clearly, and then I label that point as B. So now that we have our trouser length or our point AB on the paper, the next thing we need to do is mark the next point, which is point AC. And if in case you're wondering what AC is, A to C is your seat measurement plus 3/4 of an inch allowance or 0.75 allowance. And in this case, my seat measurement is 12, so I go ahead to mark 12, and then I add 3/4 of an inch for the ease, and that's 12.75, and I mark that as point C. Now the next thing you want to do is mark A to D, and A to D is midway between A to C. That's half of A to C, and I go ahead and mark point D. So all these points, like I said earlier, are very important. So we have A to D, which is midpoint between A to C. We also have AB, which is the trouser length. Now the next thing we want to do is mark our knee point, and to mark the knee point, you want to find the midpoint between point C and B plus 1 inch. So the midpoint between point C and B plus 1 inch will give us point E. It is important that you take the knee measurement starting from point B. So take it out from the bottom, mark the midpoint plus 1 inch, and mark your point E. Now that we have our point A, B, C, D, E, go ahead and square them out. That means you want to make sure you draw a straight line to the left and to the right, horizontal line. So go ahead and square them out, and as you can see, I'm squaring them out, and you want to square them out to the end of the paper that you're using. So at this point, it's not squared out to the end of the paper, but I'll make sure to do that off camera, and I want to make sure that you guys do that as well. To label the point, starting from the horizontal line on point A, that is your waist measurement, then you want to go to point C, which is your hip measurement or your hip line. Then point E, as we know, is our knee, and then point B is our trouser bottom. Now I know why we're saying C before E and B, everywhere, but don't worry, just follow the procedure and follow the tutorial, and that way you'll be able to draw your trouser pattern in no time. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and mark something called the back hip measurement, and we start from point C. So starting from point C, you mark the horizontal measurement for your back hip, and then you label that point as point F. If you are wondering at this point what is the meaning of back hip measurement, well, your back hip measurement is gotten by the hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1/4 of an inch, which is on the screen. Next, to get point G, you want to go ahead and square point F up, so just draw a straight line. However, if you're not confident of your straight line, you can go ahead and remeasure from point A. You want to remeasure the back hip measurement and then just mark that point, and that will be your point G, which is what I did because I didn't have my set square here. So now that you've done that, the next thing you want to do is from point F to point H, you want to go ahead and measure half back hip measurement. And at this point, I saw that my camera cut off, so you can't see how I did that. However, I will show you guys in a little bit. Now moving on to the front side of the pattern, which is the right side of the pattern, go ahead and draw the front and mark the front hip measurement, which is point C to I, and then label that. Now again, the same thing, you want to square point I up onto J, or you can remeasure from point A and mark the front hip, and that will be your point J. When you're done, draw a straight line on both sides. Alright guys, so after marking point J at the top or the waistline, the next thing we want to do is the front crotch extension. And to find this, you divide the front hip measurement by 4. So you're marking 1/4 of the front hip measurement as point K. So between point I and point K is 1/4 of the front hip measurement, and this makes up your front crotch extension. Now if you remember correctly, I said that we cut out point H, or my camera cut out point H at the back. So let's go back to the left hand side of the pattern, which is the back hip measurement or the back pattern. And to get the back crotch extension, you measure from point F half of the back hip measurement. The major difference between the front crotch extension and the back crotch extension is that the back crotch extension is only half of the back hip. However, the front crotch extension is 1/4 of the front hip. I hope this makes sense. Now let's move on. So the next thing for us to do is from point G, you want to go in by 1/2 inch, which I marked. And then at that point, it always helps to draw a little bit of a roll so you can see. And at that point that you've gone in by 1/2, you want to go up by 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to mark this new point as point X. So remember I said go in towards the right by 1/2, and then at that point go up by 1/4, and then using broken lines, go ahead and draw a slant line back to the crotch line as shown. Now the next thing we want to do is at point F, you want to use your protractor, and this is where your protractor comes in handy. You want to use your protractor to find angle 45 degrees from point F, and that's what I use my pattern master for. Angle 45 degrees, go ahead and mark 2 inches, and this 2 inches is just a guideline I use to draw the perfect crotch in. So like I said, mark 2 inches and then go ahead and draw the crotch. So you draw the crotch using a curve, making sure that it touches the point where the slant line ends, which is above there. So go ahead and draw the crotch that way, and then go back to touch point H. Okay, so now that I've drawn the crotch on the back side, I'm happy with the result. You can then change your broken lines to solid lines for the back crotch. Okay, and this is the back piece. So we're going to repeat this entire process for the front as well to draw in the front crotch. So go ahead and let's pan the camera towards the front area. And then when we get to the front crotch, we're going to do something similar. So at point I, we're going to use our protractor to mark angle 45 degrees. And again, this is only a guideline. You don't have to do it. There's no rule that says do this. If you know how to draw a perfect crotch without doing this, go for it. Now, after finding angle 45 degrees, go ahead and draw a line. And at angle 45 degrees, mark 1.5 inches. So for the front, we mark 2 inches, but for the back, we're doing 1.5 inches. Now we're going to go ahead and use our curve to draw a line that touches point K, the 1.5 inch mark, and then goes back up to the line IJ. Now that we're happy with this, we're going to go ahead and make the IJ solid in blue so that we know where we're cutting through. At this point, this is what it looks like. Now the next thing to do is from point A, you want to mark 1/8 of an inch to your left, which is at the back, and 3/8 of an inch to your right, which is on the front. Now if you don't know what 1/8 or 3/8 of an inch is, go ahead and watch the video I've linked in the iCards above on how to read a measuring tape. Now using your hip curve, go ahead and draw a hip line that goes back to point D, and then label those points that we've just marked as point L and point M. Okay, and if you notice, all the letters are flowing based on how we've drawn or made marks on our pattern. Now draw point X up to point L as the back waistline and M to J. If you notice, I didn't bother drawing the M to J because already there's a line with the black marker. We didn't raise or lower M to J. However, for the point XL, X was higher by 1/4 of an inch, if you remember. Now for this, I would not be doing a dart because, like I said, I'm going to be using this for pajamas pants. However, if you were using it for regular pants, you will need to put a dart, okay? So to determine what the dart will be, or the dart excess, you want to go ahead and measure XL for the back, which is the waistline, minus the back waist, and the formula to get the back waist is shown on the screen. As well as for the front part as well, you want to measure the dart line MJ, which is your front waistline, minus the front waist as well, okay? So that's the line we have on the waist minus your actual front waist measurement. In my case, I went ahead to change the measurements that I have. So for the front waist is 10.25 minus 8.5, which is an actual front waist measurement, right? So the line MG I meant is 10.25, and my front waist based on calculation is 8.5. Whatever I have as the difference will be my dart excess, and I can go ahead and input that in the middle of MJ and in the middle of line XL, and that would actually be where my darts will be seated, okay? So again, if you want another video where I do that, let me know. However, I trust you guys and I know you guys can figure it out. Now the next thing we want to do is move on to the bottom of the pants and finish it up. To properly finish the pants, we need to find the center point for the pants, and to do that you want to measure line CK and find the midpoint between line CK. Now that I found the midpoint for CK, I use the red marker to just mark the midpoint at the hip line, the knee point, and at the trouser bottom line. And then I use my ruler to connect these 3 points so that I know where the midpoint is. You should actually repeat this on the back as well. Remember that the right hand side of this pattern is the front, and then the left hand side is the back as well. Alright guys, so at this point I'm just putting a guideline from point E and from point B, and the guideline I'm doing is so that it's equal to whatever I had as CK, so you don't have to do this, nothing important. Now let's go ahead to the crotch. Ideally, for some people that have like a fuller bum, from point K you want to go ahead and mark 1/2 inch out. So point K is the actual crotch extension. However, for people that have a fuller bum, you can mark 1/2 inch out. Also, for some people you can actually reduce point K by 1/2 inch. However, for me, I'll be using whatever I have at point K exactly. So I'm not adding 1/2 inch because my bum is not particularly fuller, neither am I taking away 1/2 inch. Now the next thing you want to do is from point B, you want to go ahead and mark 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right, and this is so that we can actually draw the out leg. So at the trouser bottom level, whatever you have on one side should be whatever you have on the right side as well of that center red line that we drew, okay? So let's go ahead and draw the line. At this point I'm showing you what it looks like if I was drawing for someone who had a smaller bum. As you can see, I start to draw the crotch from the line before 1/2 inch before point K, and that's what I was saying earlier. However, this was like an accident, so I really wouldn't be using this actual first line. You will see towards the end where I amended to the actual right line. But let's go ahead and draw the out leg or the out seam. So for the out seam, you want to use your hip curve. Make sure you come down from the hip line a little bit, and then you want to go ahead and use your ruler from the 1 inch that we marked and just take this up, okay? So we want to go ahead and take this all the way up, right? And we're going to repeat all of this again for the back side of the pattern. So I hope I haven't confused you guys at this point. So let's go ahead and move this to the back side of the pattern, and in similar fashion you can actually go in if the person has a smaller bum by 1/2 inch, or you can come out by 1/2 inch if they have a fuller bum. So when I say out, that's towards the left, and when I say in, that's towards the right. So if I went in again, you want to go ahead and use the curve or like your varying form to draw this curve so that it looks like that for the crotch. However, one thing that we forgot is we actually forgot to put the center line that will act like a guide. So for us to do that, you want to go ahead and measure point CH. Whatever we have as point CH, you want to go ahead and mark that in the middle, the midpoint of point CH. And then we're going to mark that same midpoint from point line E, which is the knee, and line B, which is the trouser pattern. So now that we've marked that point, we're going to go ahead and rule a line, a straight line with our red marker again, and this straight line will guide us as well. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very important that your trouser bottom is the same to the left and to the right of this midline that we are just drawing. Okay. After drawing the midline, go ahead and draw the outseam as well for the back pattern. And remember that we've already marked 1 inch from point B in the middle towards the left, so that's where we're going to mark the outseam to, so it kind of, you know, matches or aligns with the one for the front. So as you can see, we marked 1 inch on both sides, front and back, and this is going to be what the outseam on the pants look like. Now let's go ahead and finish the inseam on the back pants. Okay, so to draw the inseam as well, whatever we have at the bottom, trouser bottom for the left side is what we'll have on the right side. So I went ahead to mark that, and then using my ruler, I'm going to go ahead and draw the inseam for the pants. So as you can see, I just take it up like this with the ruler, and then I take it back to where I want it to be, which is this point. But like I said, I'm going to be using point H. So this is if someone had a smaller bum. So I went back to use my curve to make it to point H, and this is what it looks like. Not excessively curved, but it's fine. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and amend the inseam like I mentioned earlier. Whatever I have on the trouser bottom to one side is what I should actually have on the other side. And as you can see, I already marked the line earlier, so I just need to make sure that I draw it in place. So again, go ahead and take it straight up. It should be straight at first, and then you can go ahead and use your ruler or a curve depending on what works well to make sure that the line meets. So this should be line K. We want to go ahead and make sure that we use the line K and not the line after. So it gets a bit confusing, but like I said, it's up to you and your kind of feet that you want. So alright guys, at this point we're literally done. We're going to cut out the pattern so that we have the exact right line, and then you want to go ahead and start sewing. For the sewing video of the pajamas pants, it's going to be in a separate video which will come out next week. So go ahead and keep, turn on the notification bell if you haven't. Keep your eyes peeled on this channel and look out for that video. However, at the moment we're going to go ahead and cut our pattern, and make sure not to cut any of the wrong lines. So as you can see, I actually cut the right line, which is the point K that I needed. So you make sure you use your paper scissors for this part and cut out your pattern, and keep your eyes peeled for the next video. Alright guys, we've come to the end of this video. I hope it was worth your while and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to leave your comments, suggestions and feedback in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please hit the subscribe button, and I cannot wait to have you guys as a part of this family. Thank you so much for watching this video guys. I hope it was worth your while, and I hope you have the very best week. Bye guys. Thank you.